Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the probably very chuckle-filled after show for episode number 66 of FinalBossTV. My name is Adam K, aka Bay, and hashtag save the sock buff rogues that's what's going to happen on Twitter right now. Get those trending to Celestalon. You'll have to watch on the preview real quick here, Vig, but we talk about how if rogues aren't that good in Blackrock Foundry like you proclaim they will be able to eat a sock, I will mail this to you. Just check the preview when it comes back up. I'll mail this to you. This sock is like as long as my arm. This is the werewolf sock, okay? And then this is the little zombie sock that my dad gave me for Christmas because he's a jokester. Again, it's like it's a bit of a. I mean, this could be an entire meal. I mean, this could take you a day to eat. I mean, this is. I mean, is that good? Is this good for you? Is that good, Vig?
Oh my god.
I mean, that's for you. That's for, yeah. You did it on my show. Don't make a bet on my show, man. I will come after you for that. Yeah, that's pretty good. So this will be just the after show. We'll talk about some rogue stuff, take questions from chat, take questions from Twitter. Once Vig can actually breathe, it's fine.
I'm having a hard time with this dude.
I know. Oh my goodness. My goodness. No, they have not been worn yet, Leslie. They're brand new out of the package, so I will not submit him to eating a dirty sock. But it's a lot of sock. It's a thick woolen sock. I mean, zombie sock or werewolf sock, whatever. Sock sandwich? My goodness. All right, so you guys want questions? You can tweet them at FinalBossTV or ask them in the chat right now. We got about 20-25 minutes or so. That'd be funny. How does one eat a sock? Cutting it up into very small pieces.
Put it in a stew.
Put it in a stew. Yeah, chop it up, put it in a stew. Exactly. All right, here I got Arathmis. Would you recommend gemming haste or multi-strike if I have double mythic axes, but only a heroic dagger? It's very specific. I mean, it's hard to really bring up gemming right now. I mean, you could enchant.
I'd go consensus gem as multi-strike. Like if you plan on playing subtlety, then multi-strike gems and enchants are a way to be decent for everything.
Okay.
I agree with Fiery. Like, go with the multi-strike. If like personally, if there were a fight I had to play combat for progression, I'd actually like spend the gold and like just redo all my enchants.
Right.
But if you can't do that, I'd probably go with the multi-strike.
Okay. Calyx. Guys, I have to AFK eating a sock to do a FinalBossTV show. Hashtag just foundry things. Oh my gosh. That's like the greatest thing the show's ever built. I think the spider scare early on was pretty good. Everything Sparkung said was good, but that one's coming back around. Good way to start off 2015. Fiery, we got you Spoony Bard asks, what conditioner do you use in your beard?
I don't.
People ask me how to use beard cleaning, and I use like a mild face wash on my beard. Because I use a face wash on my actual face. Don't put a face wash in your actual beard hair. It can make it all like dry and not good. Gotta keep it moisturized. Gotta keep it, you know, gotta tend to it. The best thing about having a beard is keeping the skin underneath clean. Let's see. Vigilate. Is it worth playing sub versus combat when you only have 670 daggers? But you also have 691 or 685 combat weapons. What should I do?
685 combat weapons. I'd still probably play sub on a single target fight.
Yeah.
It's closer now.
Yeah, it is closer, but well, see the 691 thing. You know, I don't know. It would be close, probably. That's the best way to put it.
That's a weird thing, too, because I don't ever think about that. People ask me, if anyone ever went to my armory, like, why do you have your mythic Warforged axe on your offhand? And my response is, because Lava Lash is overpowered. Not really. It's just a way to say it. Lava Lash is our best button to hit after Fire Nova. So put your best weapon in your offhand.
That's just something that combat has too now. That there's for combat, if you're cleaving, the numbers suggest that you actually want to go with a dagger main hand, slow weapon offhand.
I heard that.
Yeah, so that's what numbers suggest, and I haven't seen anything to contradict that, and that appears to generalize to pretty much all gear levels. So if you're gonna be cleaving more than 3, if you have more than 3 targets, that looks like the way to go.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Maybe they should put main gouge back in the main hand. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or Shadow Boy says a lot. They should go to just put a little 40% multiplier on it, like what they did with daggers. If it's a main hand, if it's a dagger in your offhand, it does 40% more damage. Simple solution. The Hemo solution works pretty well.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of the offhand mechanics are kind of weird because Fury, I think the same thing that I do too. The Fury puts their better weapon in their offhand than their main hand. I don't know. Just feels awkward.
It does. It does.
Let's
clearly not intended.
Oh, Dalton's in chat too, of course. Do you think combat will be buffed to where it's viable to just stay combat?
I think tier bonuses might bring it over.
Yeah.
That's what we said earlier in the show, is that the tier bonuses coming into combat look pretty good to stay combat, like almost all of Blackrock Foundry when you have 4-piece.
Potentially.
Subtleties hasn't have good tier bonuses, the big thing there.
We didn't bring up the whole tier bonus thing with split rating, stuff like that. It will probably not be beneficial to go to normal Blackrock Foundry. It's a 20 item level loss to get set bonuses from normal, going from Mythic High Mall. You guys aren't going to get normal set bonuses to get set bonuses, are you, Vig? I would have...
Well, I mean, like, let's say you have 3 pieces of heroic Foundry stuff. Yeah, and, you know, that normal piece of high mall tier is going to put you over. I could actually see it being worth it.
Guess that would be the only one outlier. Because you guys are going to run 5 or 4 heroic
5
clear.
Split raids.
5 split raids. I mean, that's... Hopefully you get enough to get 4 pieces on everyone that matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I only want to run 2.
Like, I think in the split raid my rogue is in, and, like, I'm the only person in that raid on bank, for example. So,
what do you guys think about not being in top on any fights as a DPS only class? I guess this goes well with Warlocks too. I mean, let me actually go look at that. Are there no fights? Let's do Warcraft logs. Let's go look at
quite a bit of single target damage is affliction, I believe. I think it's affliction. One of the Warlocks specs.
I think sort of the big point here is that I don't think it's the issue that rogues are not top single target damage. Like only as everyone like say only one class can be top single target damage. I think the important point is that if Blizzard's going to push this niche aspect, and they're going to push it for all specs, including single spec per role classes like Rets, Enhance, Feral, Balance, blah blah blah. Right. In that case, then what the rogue any single rogue spec should be as good on average as any single spec of another class, given some infinite size tier with appropriate fight makeup. But a rogue who can play all specs should be able to be consistently above average based on this because you're playing all of these other specs. I think that's the direction. If Blizzard wants to go on niches, that's how the DPS should work.
Yeah, I'm looking at Warcraft logs right now, and there's no rogues in any fights top 10 in all of Mythic High Mall. And the first rogue that even pops up for Mythic Butcher is 73rd with is it Pylarox on Sylvanas EU, did 37.6k on Subtlety on Butcher. 73rd though is the first rogue on Butcher. And this is all eye levels, by the way. This is all eye levels, not looking at the top 10%. That's pretty nuts though. I mean, 73rd. I mean, you're looking at top 100. I mean, you look at Butcher and you see mages for the first 9, and then a druid, and then a mage, and then a ret pally, then a mage, ret pally, mage, mage. So.
Oh, I think arcane mages and ret pallies might be a bit high on single target right now.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, the arcane mage buff they just got were like what, 12 or 13%. It was insane.
Yeah,
insane.
Yeah.
Is the old legendary dagger worth using? I would imagine not.
No.
I don't think so. I mean, if you've got numbers as it is, go for it. But I don't think it is.
I don't see it being worth it.
Best sub opener? Can you guys like go through the sub opener? Is there like a best opener for sub?
Tier 15 2-piece.
Yeah.
Pre-mid.
So it's
slice and dice. Be for the pull. Pre-pot. Put back on your main gear. Open up with the ambush. And probably
get a rupture. Or I think right now it's leaning toward open with Garrot instead of ambush, but I don't think it matters that much long term. The big pre-pull nonsense that currently people are talking about is the open with. So put on the tier 15 2-piece pre-med when there are 11 seconds left on the pre-med cooldown. Hit slice and dice. Then and as soon as pre-med comes out cooldown, hit pre-med again. At that point, hit slice and dice again, put your normal gear on, pre-pot pull. Requires like a 24-second pull timer to do correctly.
Now,
it's stupid.
Why do you need to double slice and dice? What's the gain?
So you're taking out of the sort of pandemic refresh on that. So
so you maximize your slice and dice timer because it can be 30% over the normal button push.
Yeah.
Ah.
I think there's been a whole bunch of discussion on MMO about ambush versus Garrot or open. I don't know. Last I saw, I think it looks like Garrot was ahead, but I don't think it matters that much because openers don't matter that much.
What do you guys think about Hemo?
Hemo weaving. Oh.
I didn't go into that in the main show because I thought it was kind of really, really, really a small topic. So, is there a Hemo weaving thing? Like, do you? It just seems like you hit it when the bleed falls off, right?
Yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah.
But it's not. It may not be a DPS increase. Hemo weaving right now is sort of sitting like combat rupture was for several expansions, where it's technically a DPS increase in most gear sets, but it's such a minor DPS increase it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
so
fluctuate between
like
DPS increase and DPS loss.
I use Hemo as sub because it protects you from it protects you from sort of a burst of multi-strikes from backstab, meaning you lose your sanguinary veins. I intentionally get a Hemo that's off aligned from your rupture, so they won't fall at the same time, but it's not really a huge deal either way.
Plus it can kind of be useful for fast target swaps.
It's very useful for attack targets faster with the glyph. You need the glyph for that. Hemorrhaging veins.
Hemorrhaging veins, yeah.
Which shouldn't be a glyph, by the way. That's such a central thing to rogue. Like, you don't target swap a subtlety without that glyph. Like, right. You shouldn't. Our target swapping shouldn't be a glyph. It should just be a baseline thing. I don't know why. I know why they took it out of PvP reasons, but it's stupid. They should put it back.
Calix wants to know, why can't we backstab from the front already?
I'd like to know the same thing.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's called backstab.
But
it doesn't affect rating much, but
you're right.
You know, when I'm soloing my rogue, I can't do it as sub. I'm sorry, Hemo spam doesn't work.
Like Chromag, I don't remember Chromag. I checked my notes. I don't have a note from beta. I don't have a note on whether it works, but I suspect that subtlety would be I suspect Subtlety might have a hard time on Chromag, the big Kolagarn style guy in Blackrock Foundry.
Yeah.
They might give him a narrow front, but it's stupid. It doesn't need to exist. As my favorite dev has said at BlizzCon and on your show, Bay, that positional requirements aren't fun. Positional requirements are bad design,
right.
And yet rogues are stuck with them, and Windwalkers too, because
at least Windwalkers get a glyph.
They don't. No, they took that out.
Well, they didn't take it out.
They're adding it back in. They're adding it back in.
They whoopsie-daisied, but they're putting it back in. Yeah.
But so people say it's called backstab, but so what? We have all these abilities that don't make any actual sense as their name. Okay, so slime don't have a kidney. Should I be able to kidney shot a slime?
Right.
Why should I be able to fireball Ragnaros? None of these. If you want to go strict to a strict interpretation of the words, then a lot of things break down. Just call it stab or call it dispatch, which is because before Assassination had dispatch was backstab. So just call it dispatch, call it a day. We're all happy.
Yeah.
Done.
Those are just little things. I mean, we brought up lots of little nitpicky things like that before too, like that. That brings to mind the Blood DK community wanting to not have Blood Boil as their main ability to spam. Make it Heartstrike again. Make the Heartstrike AOE just like Blood Boil does, because then you actually feel like a Death Knight again, not a melee spellcaster. You're not even a melee spellcaster as a Blood DK. I'm still behind in chat, guys. I'm going to catch up real quick. Is there a one quality of life change you'd like to make to rogues? We'll go to Vig first.
Being able to backstab from the front.
I baited that. I knew that was going to happen.
Yes.
I knew it was going to happen. Okay, okay. Fiery?
That's a good one. I think a good one would be that actually would impact gameplay and that would actually make rogue gameplay better would be baseline a 2 combo point version of anticipation. So right now, it makes the specs play better. Like if you look at all the other specs that have combo point style systems, paladins, monks, shadow priests, pick them. They all have an overflow. They all can generate more combo point equivalents than their maximum consumer. And there's a reason for that. It's because it makes the game better. Like it lets you actually play around with your combo points, interact with them in a way that you don't when it's build to 5, hit your finisher. Build to 5, hit your finisher. And so if you baseline like a 2 combo point version of anticipation, it wouldn't be overpowered. It wouldn't make the class overpowered. It wouldn't add too much burst, but it would let you have that sort of playing around with mechanic that we don't have right now. And then you'd have to replace anticipation. But there's good ideas there.
Wait, can you actually backstab on Assassination from the front?
Assassination doesn't have backstab; it has dispatch, which was backstab initially, and they changed it They changed it to dispatch.
Like you used to be able not even mutilate from the front either, but now you can.
Yes,
way
back.
Because mutilate was basically just double backstab. That's how it was like. Yeah, that's what you're doing. But yeah, you can mutilate from the front now. So.
Also, yes, there was another one in chat that's a really good one. Bandit's Guile is so I'm one of the few people who actually likes the mechanic, but its implementation, the way they've got it hooked up in the game right now is terrible. First of all, it doesn't have a good UI implementation. Bandit's Guile stacks, but there's no UI indication of how it stacks. You need like a WeakAura, like I've got one, a bunch of people have them, that track your progress to the next Bandit's Guile stack. Bandit's Guile should be a buff on the rogue that stacks, and you can see the stacks. Okay, I got 2 stacks, I got 3 stacks, I got 4 stacks, tied into the standard buff debuff system. Second, Bandit's Guile should last longer. Like, we're trying to cycle it as fast as we can because of the new empowered deep insight they put in. We're trying to cycle it really fast. So make it last longer. Make it a minute. It's a pseudo-resource a la Monk's Tiger Eye Brew. It should behave like one from a duration perspective. The short duration makes it annoying for out in the world soloing. Also makes it annoying to try to do any kind of optimization around it.
Another thing I agree with.
Yeah. Now, how does that read? I want to look at that.
Oh God, the tooltip is bad.
Oh,
it's gotten better though. It used to be even worse.
Can I actually? Where is it? It's all. That's for
it's
all.
It's a combat passive.
Yeah, combat's passive. Exactly.
That's better than it was in Kata.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bandit's Guile reads that you take advantage of the natural ebb and flow of combat, using your Sinister Strike to gradually increase the damage dealt by up to 30%. The maximum effect will last 15 seconds before fading and beginning the cycle anew. Yeah. I mean, that's like a... Yeah,
it doesn't tell you the mechanic. The mechanic is 4 Sinister Strikes, you go up a level, you go from no insight to shallow to moderate to deep. At deep insight, always lasts 15 seconds. The others advance at 4 Sinister Strikes during there. Yeah. It's a very... The tooltip sucks, and the mechanic isn't implemented. The mechanic is hard to track, and it shouldn't be hard to track.
It shouldn't be. There's lots of... I guess there's lots of things for every class that does that. Like, for myself, I would love if Liquid Magma didn't just buff the totem, but gave me a buff on my bar, so I know it's happening.
Yeah.
Besides just the totem throwing up everywhere. And then if it buffed the Shaman, if we placed a totem during a totem's duration that would otherwise let the spell just disappear, it would just keep going off the next fire elemental or next fire totem. These little things, there's lots of little, like, things right now. And I guess Bandit's Guile is definitely one of them for you guys. I'm going to go to Twitter real quick here. Let's see. Is Marked for Death the best best for combat on all fights, or is Anticipation good on some points as combat? Well, we went through every fight if you miss those parts until you can go back to the main show. But just a real quick wrap up. We went through every fight at Heimall. But yeah, Mark for Death, combat.
Currently for combat, I definitely do think Mark for Death is the best option for combat on all fights.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big change there is that with Shadow, so combat used anticipation a lot during MoP because we had Shadow Blades, which meant you could achieve a lot more combo point overflow. With combat now, you have a very low combo point overflow. The only time is when if you hit 20% of the time you hit a natural 4 combo point. Sinister Striking will put you at will waste 1. It's rare enough. That's a rare enough case. It'll probably happen. It'll probably happen about maybe once or twice a minute, and so the 5 combo points you get off Mark for Death are better than the 2 combo points you save. Plus, Mark for Death has all those fun reset gaining mechanics.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Another question came in on Twitter about, with all the buffs, how far behind is Assassination to the other specs? And I think Vig summed this up very well at the beginning of the show. What'd you say again, Vig?
The second best spec for rogues on every single fight.
It's just, that's it, right?
Except maybe, certain odd cases like Twin Ogron.
Right. Which is...
where it has the potential to be the best.
Which is, I don't know, it's a big problem because rogues have 3 ways to do DPS, so eventually one will not be awesome. Like, you can't have all 3 specs at the same echelon. You can't. The point is that you shouldn't be able to go through, because I do this defense with warriors too. Like, you're not an arms warrior, you're not a fury warrior, you're a warrior. You either go arms or fury based on the encounter. It's different for those kind of classes. Like, rogues should be either a combat sub or assassination rogue based on the fight, not based off of this, what is the better spec, period. Which we may see in Blackrock Foundry with combat. We hope we don't see that. It's kind of a technical question for both rogues. If I slice and dice late, and the next time Shadow Reflections comes up by, say, 5 or 10 seconds before slice and dice, is it worth waiting? I would say wait to re-slice and dice, or wait on your...
Use slice and dice, then use Shadow Reflection, because Pandemic Refresh.
The Pandemic Refresh, yeah. Now, what that means, for chat room doesn't know, all dots in the game, almost all, if you refresh it before it actually runs out, you can only gain a maximum of 30% more than the full duration of the normal buff. Or dot, or personal whatever. That's what Pandemic means. That's a Warlock's thing from last expansion. So, yeah. How far is Assassination behind? Let me introduce you to Vendetta. Enough said. Aw. Oh, no.
Vendetta's terrible.
Yeah. It's kind of terrible.
Yeah. Assassination... Oh, go ahead.
It shouldn't be target locked. It's a simple fix. Make it not target locked. Everyone's happy. It's a boring cooldown then too, but it's a less terrible cooldown, a less annoying cooldown to use if it's not target locked.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's see.
Plus, I'd actually be buff for Assassination on AOE fights then.
Yeah, that's the other problem. It's a big problem with Subtlety and Assassination. Neither of them have a good way to do AOE. Their cooldowns don't work on AOE. Combat has a huge advantage because it turns on Blade Flurry, and then all its single target cooldowns, Killing Spree and Adrenaline Rush, then work for AOE. For Subtlety, your your only cooldown is still target locked, and for Assassination, they're target locked, so you can't do AOE burst.
Oh, if you want to get technical, Vanish, you could get the Master Sub buff for AOE.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing huge.
Yeah. Should I go multi-strike on all of my gear because sub in combat? Probably wouldn't be terrible.
Well, I mean, it depends. If you can afford to, change your chance out in between fights for progression, I would. But I mean, if you're like one of those people, you're not the richest, and your guild's not at the bleeding edge.
Right.
I could actually, you could make the argument to just.
So, Calyx is trying to clarify Tiger's question. They want to know if they Slice Dice is going to drop during the Shadow Reflection. If they should spend the combo points on that during, or other abilities that are being copied.
Well, ideally you wouldn't get into that situation, but if you do, yeah.
With the long and short to be...
Yeah, I don't think you'd want your Slice and Dice to fall.
And you don't want to Slice and Dice during Shadow Reflection.
No, it should be okay, because... I think I would spend the combo points before, but I don't have a rigorous answer. That's intuition. There's not any math behind that.
If you were to fall into that situation, due to whatever reason, you'd want to refresh your Slice and Dice, because it's a large part of your damage.
That's an interesting question.
And if you're sub, it's your primary way of generating energy.
How does the pandemic effect work with Slice and Dice if you use a lesser combo point refresh?
Pandemic refreshes off new duration. So if you have the pandemic threshold for 5 combo points is different from the pandemic threshold for 4 combo points, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So otherwise it would be god awful to figure out, because you have to track what the duration of the thing that led to the current.
Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah.
It's Blizzard did it the right way. It's good. So it works off your current one, not off the next one.
Okay, cool.
Not your previous, sorry.
Checking for a couple more questions here real quick before we get out of here. Have you considered the possibility that his socks are made of bacon? You know what, Deani, you get a round of applause for that one. I mean, that...
I would definitely eat a bacon sock right now. As long as no one had ever worn it.
Wow. I mean, you could buy other pieces of clothes made as bacon. I'm sure you could just make a bacon sock.
Probably.
You could say it on your stream as a funny joke, like, I'm gonna eat my sock to rogue sock. And you pull out this giant crispy bacon sock, full of meats and cheeses, and you're like, oh, bacon sock.
One thing I see a bunch of people in chat is asking about this idea of if I have a high haste, low multi-strike, should I still go sub? Yes, you should. Quit worrying about secondaries. Not important. Just go with if you want to play a spec, play that spec. Secondaries, okay, they matter, but not a huge deal. Play the spec you want to play. Secondaries are not
especially right now where you're in Heimall, you have one piece of gear per slot. You can't really, I have 30% crit raid buffed on Enhancement Shaman, and crit is my worst stat. But the pieces of gear that also have crit on them have haste. That's my best stat. So it's when we get into Blackrock Foundry, you can tailor your stuff better. And I think for almost every class, your set is really good itemized. I think it's really...
And it's even if a stat is your worst, even if a secondary is your worst secondary,
right?
It's still a DPS increase.
Sure.
And
it's a higher
primaries
value.
are going to be... Primaries are generally, for most classes, I think, still worth much more than secondary stats.
If you're going to gain strength, agility, or int, you're going to gain flat damage on everything versus the crit that you're also gaining or losing, or multi-strike you've lost or gained, or whatever. Because no secondary is arguably bad. Even versatility in some cases is still good. In some classes, versatility is very good. For me, it's... But... So
I've seen people make the case that if they had reforging still, they would reforge everything for versatility.
And I don't think that's really a wrong argument.
No, it's not. Versatility is too strong if you could reforge it. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it absolutely is. It would be really bad in PvP. You'd see incredibly weird gaming of versatility in PvP. Yep. Weapon enchants. We went through every weapon enchant for each... but the long and short of rogue weapon enchants is that Shattered Hand offhand.
Shattered Hand in either hand, you'll probably use in your offhand because it's cheaper and whatnot. But
and then your main hand weapon enchant depends on the spec.
It's generally going to be the highest stat for that spec. So the mastery one for assassination, multi-strike for subtlety, haste for combat.
Yep.
Basically.
Pretty much straight to it. I'm trying to grab a couple more here. We're at about time, friends. I'm trying to read through. A lot of you guys are actually giving answers in chat, and I want to actually find the questions. This is all mine right now. This is what the co-host job usually does: is find questions. Mwah! Are there any weak auras or add-ons I should run for my rogue? Well, you have your Bandit's Guile weak aura. If you guys have any weak auras that are like really important that you can have on like paste bins, something like that, give them to me in Skype. I'll put them in the actual, I'll put them in the show description box on YouTube. Because I mean, you can link them in chat right now too, but I will put them in the YouTube box, of course. Like I put Bubble Shadow Priest opener in the last week's episode. So. With
I use things like multi-rupture tracking WeakAuras because, you know, the default UI tracks, you know, multiple of your debuffs on multiple targets quite badly. So
of course,
with high levels of comes into play.
High levels of multi-strike gear. Do you think Hemo will become mandatory since it is proccing the tick of the bleed so much?
No. So it's tricky there because remember, if it's at high levels of multi-strike, you get those Hemo ticks advancing, but you also have a higher chance for each backstab to grant you a tick. So replacing the Hemo with the backstab means you actually are not benefiting from some of those ticks. As it's a really complex interaction that I don't think we can claim to have any good handle on but it's like our tools should be able to handle it. And I think the answer is Hemo is probably going to stay as a pretty negligible DPS increase for probably for this entire expansion, unless Blizzard says you buffs Hemo, says you use Hemo now, which I don't know if they're going to do or not. I have no idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a weird outlying. It's kind of like an ugly duckling right now for you guys.
Maybe they could actually make Hemo do damage.
That would be an idea too. Or maybe they could bring back the Hemo as a rolling dot, which they had, and then they took it away because
it was too complex.
Okay,
for some people.
That's a whole can of worms. The original incarnation of Sinister Calling plus Hemo as a rolling dot trade this ungodly complex mechanic.
Right.
That's fine. Ignore that. But there's when they changed the Sinister Calling mechanic, they didn't need to take away Hemo as a rolling dot. So they should bring Hemo as a rolling dot back, and that would also help make Hemo a little better and and make positional requirements, if we're stuck with them, less of a big deal.
Because is the reason why you have Hemo is that your option if you're in front of a boss?
Yeah.
In theory.
In theory.
But you don't want to use it because it doesn't do much damage. And if you spam it, you're losing damage because its damage is heavily backloaded into the dot.
Yeah. I mean, that's how Flame Shock works. Like, the initial tick does nothing, but you want to keep it up. It's a mandatory thing to keep up the whole time. Because the damage its dot does is like way disproportional. You know, it's like almost 3 times as much from the initial hit from the actual dot, which is fine. But that doesn't seem like that's the way for Hemo. It sucks. That might be about all we have for time here. I don't want to make the after shows too long because they usually just turn into another giant show. So thank you all very much for being here. I'm going to just refresh Twitter, make sure there's talking about cake and pie and bacon socks. That's fine. And all right then, if you guys have more questions for our guests, please go over here to the website. Where's my music? Oh, hang on. There it is. Go right over here to the website right here. Go to Ravenholdt, ravenholdt.net. Hit this button, jump into the IRC, ask questions. Oh my goodness. And there's Shadowcraft links right there too, so you can go over there and start parsing and figuring out when to use Shattered Hand, aka the whole expansion. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully.
Maybe. Probably not. Probably the breakpoint said. The breakpoint for Assassination is probably very late. Breakpoint for Subtlety maybe as early as Blackrock Foundry. Really hard to tell.
Well, you guys will know, and you'll be talking about it right there, and you'll blog posts and stuff, and right over that website, right there. Again, Vigilate from Midwinter. You can go follow him on Twitter at Vigilate_MW. Looking forward to that Blackrock Foundry progression, sir. Looking forward to it.
Hopefully I don't have to eat a sock.
Yeah. Well, you know, that could be the highlight of the progression race.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, right. And some of you may have known... Oh, there's Fiery too. This guy right here with his awesome little beard. And he's over on Twitter as well at Fierydemise. Yeah.
Yep.
That's where you can find you. Thank you, sir. Your rants aren't as amazing in text, but you can get them. You can get them right there. You can get them right there. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. I was going to preface this at the end here that the Method vs. Midwinter live race is the next little edit that I'm putting together. Some of you may have saw the Warlords cinematic launch opener. So the live raid where this guy right here totally botched it. I mean, what?
Hey, I key bindings from the night before Yeah. Didn't save.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it was a much more fun race to watch.
You could say it was a bit blind to the situation on the action bar.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, my goodness. You went there.
Yeah.
So look for that on the YouTube to come, of course. And next week, again, is going to be either Blood DK or Guardian Druids, Bears. More information will come up on our social media, on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you all for watching again. Trust in that Tempered Seal of Fate and the Seal of Tempered Fate, either one of them. I'm going to mess it up all the time now. Whatever, it's fine. Questions, answers, stuff like that. See you guys all on the internets later. And bye, guys. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
You can start waving now, but only wait for a little while. There you go. There you go. He did it. He did it.